morning, dear students. I hope all of you are safe and fine at home. Now, let's begin with the next chapter of civics, lesson number 3, electoral politics. In this chapter, we are going to see about the election procedure, the voters list, photo identity card, electronic voting machine, election campaign, polling booth, polling day, counting day, and so on. So, let's begin the chapter and discuss them in detail one by one. Yes, see the photograph, student, and tell me what it is depicting. Yes, you are right. It is an election campaign made by BJP. Do you know what is a campaign? It is a campaign made by a political party to gain more and more votes from the people and to get majority to form a government in the country. What is this? Yes, it is a ballot paper. Do you know what is a ballot paper? A ballot paper is a paper on which the candidates and their party symbols are mentioned so that voter can see them and cast their vote during elections. This is a photo identity card which is used during elections to cast the vote. Voters list. The list of those who are eligible to vote is prepared much before the election and given to everyone. This list is officially called the electoral roll and is commonly known as voters list. Good morning, dear students. Now, let's begin with a new chapter of civics, electoral politics. Do you know what this chapter is going to deal with? It is going to deal with election system in India. Now, let's begin. In a democracy, people do not govern directly. They govern through the elected representative. Governing through elected representative in the most common form of democracy. This chapter will develop understanding about election of representatives, need of elections, and how to make election democratic. It also involves examining the role of election commission. Now, let's begin with elections. It is the mechanism or procedure by which people choose their representatives at regular intervals is called election. It means by which we choose our representatives to run the government is election. Now, let's discuss about the procedure of elections in our state, Haryana. Haryana had been ruled by Congress party since 1982. At that time, Chaudhry Devi Lal was an opposition leader. He led movement called Naya Yudh. New party was formed named Lokdal. In election campaign in 1987 assembly election, Devilal promised voters that if his party wins, he would waive loan of farmers and small businessmen. As people were unhappy with the existing government, they were attracted by Devilal's promise. They voted in favor of Lokdal and its partners won 76 out of 90 seats. Lokdal won 60 seats alone and thus had a clear majority in the assembly. Congress got only 5 seats. As the election result was announced, the existing chief minister of Congress resigned. The newly elected members of Legislative Assembly of Lokdal chose Devilal as their leader. The governor invited Devilal to be the new chief minister. After 3 days of election result, he took oath. Then his government issued a government order waiving the outstanding loans to small farmers, agricultural laborers, and small businessmen. Lokdal ruled the state for 4 years. In 1991 election, party did not want people's support. This time, Congress won the election and formed the government. So, children, with this, you can see that if the people are not happy with the existing government, they can change the government in the next election and choose the party which they like and which they will fulfill. Elections are needed to elect representatives. In most democracies, people rule through their representatives elected by them. The elections are needed for any representative democracy because they solve problem of assembling people on the basis of education, knowledge, or experience. They help in analyzing the people like their representatives or not. They ensure that the representative rule as per the wishes of the people and make sure that those who are not working for the people do not remain their representatives. In an election, the voter makes many choices like they can choose who will make laws for them. They can choose who will form the government and take major decisions. They can choose the party whose policy will guide the government and lawmaking. It means the elections are needed for choosing the new party and new candidate who fulfills and sees the requirement of the people and fulfill them. So, above we have read about what is the need of elections. You can see in the given photographs the need of elections. A simple list of the minimum conditions which make an election democratic like everyone should have the right to choose representative. It means everyone has one vote and every vote has equal value. Political parties and candidates should be free to contest election and offer some real choice to the voters from the parties they have. The choice should be offered at regular intervals by conducting elections after a certain period. For example, in India, we have regular elections after 5 years. The candidate preferred by the people only should get elected. Elections are conducted in a free and fair manner where people choose those representatives whom they really wish. It means those representatives who they desire and who are in a condition to fulfill their requirements and listen to them at the time of their needs. Political competition. Political competition means the competition between different political parties contesting in elections. Elections are all about competition. Political competition takes place when different political parties compete to gain the confidence and the vote of the voters. They make promises and give incentives to motivate the voters to vote them. It means all the parties want to attract more and more voters towards them so that they can gain more and more votes and become a majority party to run the government. The electoral competition has many demerits, like it creates a sense of disunity and factionalism and party politics in every locality. It means they disunite people. Different political parties and candidates often use dirty tricks like booth capturing to win elections. The pressure to win electoral fight does not allow to form useful long-term policies. The competition leads to the idea of being dragged into unhealthy competition. That's the good people do not enter the party and participate in the political competition. It means they like to live away from political parties. It's not that political competition always has demerits. It also has some merits. Let's discuss them. First, regular electoral competition provides incentives to political parties and leaders. If they can satisfy the voters with their work, they will be able to win again. If a political party is motivated only by desire to be in power, even then it will be forced to serve the people. It reveals the real motive of political parties. It gives choices to voters to choose among the best. It means there are many parties, you can choose the best. In India, Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha elections are held regularly after every 5 years. After 5 years, the term of all the elected representatives comes to an end. Elections are held in all constituencies at the same time, either on the same day or within a few days. This is known as general election. Sometimes election is held only for one constituency to fill the vacancy caused by death or resignation of a member. This is known as by-election. This is the pattern of election followed in India. Now, let's discuss about electoral constituencies. In India, an area-based system of representation is followed where the country is divided into different areas for purpose of elections. These are called electoral constituencies. Every voter who lives in an area votes for one representative. For Lok Sabha election, India is divided into 543 constituencies. The representative elected from each constituency is called Member of Parliament or an MP. For Vidhan Sabha election, each state is divided into a specific number of assembly constituencies, and the elected representative of each assembly constituency is called Member of Legislative Assembly or an MLA. Each parliamentary constituency has several assembly constituencies within it. The same principle applies for panchayat and municipal elections. Each village or town is divided into different wards that are like constituencies. So, this is all about constituencies. Do you know what do you mean by reserved constituencies? To ensure representation of every section of society, our constitution makers made provision of reserved constituencies. Some constituencies are reserved for people who belong to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. In an SC reserved constituency, only someone who belongs to the SCs can stand for election. Similarly, only those belonging to the STs can contest an election from an constituency reserved for ST. A few seats in Lok Sabha are reserved for SCs and STs. This number is in proportion